Pressure and expectations have always surrounded Ferrari ahead of an F1 season, and 2025 is no different. But this time, there's a unique factor adding to the buzz: Lewis Hamilton's arrival at Maranello. His presence has intensified the spotlight on the team, yet the energy within the squad seems distinct from previous years. Reports from Italy suggest that both Hamilton and Ferrari are optimistic about making significant strides at the Australian Grand Prix. The opening round in Melbourne will be a crucial test, not just for Hamilton but also for Ferrari's SF-25. Last season's performance raised hopes of a serious title fight, but the recent Bahrain tests have exposed some challenges. Meanwhile, McLaren appears to have picked up right where they left off in 2024. Their MCL-39 stood out in Sakir, particularly in terms of race pace. While the team downplays expectations, their 2025 challenger looks incredibly strong. Observers noted the car's stability, and more importantly, its ability to maintain tire performance over long runs. This combination puts McLaren in a strong position for the first race, creating concern for rivals, including Ferrari. Their testing sessions weren't as smooth, though that doesn't mean the SF-25 lacks competitiveness. Ferrari remains largely satisfied with the progress between their factory and track operations. However, a few critical issues need to be resolved before the season kicks off. One of Ferrari's primary concerns heading into the season is fine-tuning the setup of the SF-25. The team struggled to find the perfect operating window during testing, and with limited track time, that's a significant hurdle. Now they have just 3 free practice sessions in Australia to get the car dialed in to its optimal level. Despite this challenge, there's no panic within the squad. Since taking charge in 2023, team principal Fred Vasseur has navigated Ferrari through even tougher situations. His leadership has brought a sense of stability, and his ability to steer the team through adversity has been evident. That's why making bold predictions about Ferrari's potential at this stage would be premature. The true picture will only emerge during qualifying in Melbourne, once the SF-25 has had proper running on a race weekend. That said, there's still a sense of caution within Maranello. The SF-25 has already shown that it can be tricky to extract the best from, even in these early stages of the year. Other top teams, including Mercedes and Red Bull in recent seasons, have faced similar challenges when dealing with narrow operating windows. Ferrari is determined to avoid falling into that trap. Both Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton acknowledged some difficulties during testing, but they remain confident in the team's ability to adapt. Ferrari has already proven its capability to turn things around mid-season, as seen last year when they recovered from a troublesome upgrade package at the Spanish Grand Prix. The key now is to find solutions quickly, something they've been working on extensively in the simulator and wind tunnel in preparation for Australia. Ferrari knows that if they want to challenge McLaren, they need a strong start to the season. Even if the SF-25 is close to the MCL-39 in terms of performance, getting everything right from the first race is crucial. If they struggle early on, recovering will be much harder than it was last season. That's because the 2026 regulations are already forcing teams to think ahead, balancing their resources between this year's car and future development. While Ferrari has assured that they won't shift focus away from 2025 if they're in the championship fight, they also won't waste wind tunnel hours if the gap to McLaren proves too big. That means how they approach the opening rounds will be key. If they fall behind early, they'll have to make a tough decision: push for a title run or shift their focus to long-term gains. With all this in mind, Ferrari enters the 2025 season as one of the main contenders. Last year, they had a real shot at the Constructors' Championship and could have sealed it with races to spare if not for a major slump in the middle of the season. That setback forced Fred Vasseur's team to spend months addressing unexpected issues from their mid-season updates. This time, they're hoping to avoid such missteps and keep themselves in the fight all year long. Their preseason testing wasn't perfect, but that's nothing new in Formula One. Every team faces challenges in testing, and engineers trackside must interpret the data quickly to maximize performance. In Ferrari's case, their connection between the track and factory seems strong, meaning the SF-25 is delivering results that align with expectations. That's a solid foundation to work from as they head into the first race in Melbourne. Despite the solid groundwork, Ferrari encountered a few unexpected hurdles during testing in Bahrain. Their outright pace remains uncertain, especially with McLaren appearing to have a clear edge. But beyond raw speed, Ferrari also struggled with the SF-25's handling, which proved tricky at times on the track in Sakhir. This is particularly concerning for Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton, who need a car with a broad operating window to consistently extract maximum performance. In recent years, Formula One has shown how a narrow performance window can create problems. Mercedes, for example, has repeatedly dealt with unpredictable results due to similar issues. Ferrari is keen to avoid falling into that trap, knowing that a car that's too sensitive to setup changes can make results inconsistent from race to race. That's why their engineers have been working relentlessly to fine-tune the SF-25's characteristics before the Australian Grand Prix. Speaking after the 3 days of testing, Leclerc acknowledged the strengths of the McLaren package while emphasizing that Ferrari's main priority was understanding their own car. He explained that while teams always take note of their rivals' race simulations, it's difficult to draw direct comparisons without knowing all the conditions under which they ran. However, he admitted that Ferrari learned valuable lessons during testing, identifying key areas where they need to improve before the first race. Unlike McLaren, Ferrari is also adjusting to a major internal change with Lewis Hamilton joining the team. To maximize his performance, the SF-25 must offer him a car that behaves predictably, a challenge for any driver moving to a new team. This also places added responsibility on Leclerc, whose familiarity with Ferrari's systems and operations will be crucial in helping the team optimize their car setup as quickly as possible. For now, Leclerc remains focused on one key objective: continuous improvement. He understands that if Ferrari truly wants to challenge for the title this season, refining the SF-25's performance is the top priority. After all, a strong start in Australia could set the tone for the entire campaign, while any early setbacks might make the championship battle an uphill task. As I've said many times, we still have a lot of work to do before Melbourne, Leclerc admitted. That's our main focus right now, identifying what needs improvement and making sure we get the car in the right place before the first race. He also highlighted the importance of working closely with Hamilton, ensuring that both drivers contribute to Ferrari's progress. With only a few days remaining before the Australian Grand Prix, Ferrari's engineers are finalizing their approach. For the opening round, this includes not only refining their race setup, but also planning their development path for the season ahead. While testing provided plenty of data, the real challenge lies in translating those insights into on-track performance when it truly matters. This year also marks a significant shift in Ferrari's team structure. Beyond the technical aspects, there's a new dynamic at play. Seven-time world champion Lewis Hamilton has now joined forces with longtime Ferrari driver Charles Leclerc. It's a partnership that brings both opportunity and pressure. Ferrari's leadership is well aware that balancing the expectations of two highly competitive drivers is no small task. However, team principal Fred Vasseur believes that having Hamilton on board will ultimately be beneficial for the entire squad, including Leclerc. Vasseur has been vocal about his belief that Hamilton's arrival will not only strengthen the team, but also help take some pressure off Leclerc's shoulders. The idea is that Hamilton's wealth of experience will contribute fresh insights, bringing a different approach that could elevate Ferrari's overall performance. Vasseur elaborated on his perspective, explaining why he believes Hamilton's presence will be a net positive for Leclerc. From the very first discussions I had with Lewis, I was convinced that this move would also benefit Charles. It's not just about having another fast driver in the team. It's about creating an environment where both drivers can push each other and bring the best out of the car, he stated. For Leclerc, this means adapting to a new teammate after 4 years alongside Carlos Sainz. The dynamic between him and Hamilton will be different, but Ferrari sees this as an opportunity for growth. Vasseur pointed out that changing teammates isn't just about competition, it's also about learning from each other. After spending so much time working with Carlos, Charles now has a chance to see a different approach, different methods, and that can only make him a stronger driver, Vasseur added. While the internal battle at Ferrari will be one of the most intriguing storylines of the season, the ultimate goal remains unchanged: winning the World Championship. However, the key question is whether Ferrari can provide both of its drivers, with a car capable of challenging McLaren, Red Bull, and Mercedes over the long haul. One thing is certain: Ferrari isn't just focusing on individual race wins. Their aim is clear: fight for the title across the entire season. The SF-25 has shown flashes of promise, but its true potential will only be revealed when the lights go out in Melbourne. If Ferrari has truly addressed the weaknesses from preseason testing, they could be in a position to launch a serious challenge. As the Australian Grand Prix approaches, all eyes will be on the Maranello squad. The pressure is on and expectations are sky high. But can Ferrari finally put together a title-winning campaign? Or will their rivals once again prove to be a step ahead? While Ferrari is aiming high, their competition isn't standing still. McLaren, Red Bull, and Mercedes all have their own ambitions, and early signs suggest this season could be one of the most competitive in years. McLaren, in particular, has emerged as a serious threat, with their MCL39 impressing throughout preseason testing. If their performance in Bahrain is anything to go by, they could be the team to beat when the season kicks off in Australia. For Ferrari, this means their margin for error is incredibly slim. Any missteps in the early rounds could set them back significantly, especially considering how difficult it can be to close the gap once a rival team gains momentum. That's why their work in simulator sessions and fine-tuning the SF-25's set up during practice sessions in Melbourne will be crucial. The team knows they need to maximize every opportunity to get the car into its ideal operating window. A key factor in Ferrari's 2025 campaign will be how well Hamilton adapts to his new surroundings. While he brings an immense amount of experience and championship pedigree, settling into a new team is never an easy task. It will take time for him to fully understand the car's nuances, work seamlessly with the engineers, and develop chemistry with the Ferrari crew. However, given his track record, few doubt that he'll find his rhythm quickly. Meanwhile, Leclerc enters the season with a clear objective: to establish himself as Ferrari's leading driver. He's been with the team long enough to know the internal workings, and now, with a 7-time world champion alongside him, he has the perfect measuring stick to prove he belongs among the elite. Despite the external pressure, Ferrari remains confident that they have the tools to fight for the championship. Their 2024 season proved that they are capable of making mid-season improvements, and if they can start strong in Australia, it will send a clear message to their competitors. But, as always, the real answers will only come once the race weekend unfolds. Will Ferrari's work in the off-season be enough to challenge McLaren? Or will they find themselves playing catch-up once again? The opening rounds of the season will be a true test of Ferrari's ambitions. Every session in Australia will provide insights into whether their winter development has paid off, or if further adjustments are needed. While simulator data and wind tunnel results offer some indications, nothing compares to real-world track performance. The Scuderia's ability to adapt swiftly will determine how competitive they remain against their main rivals. One of the biggest challenges Ferrari faces is ensuring both Leclerc and Hamilton can extract maximum performance from the SF-25. In past seasons, teams like Mercedes have struggled with narrow operating windows, making their cars inconsistent across different tracks. Ferrari is keen to avoid falling into a similar trap. If they can refine their setup quickly, they stand a strong chance of putting themselves in the title fight. Much of the spotlight will be on Hamilton as he embarks on this new chapter. His move from Mercedes to Ferrari was one of the biggest shakeups in F1 history, and expectations are sky-high. The British driver is known for his ability to push a car to its limits, but his success will depend on how well the SF-25 suits his driving style. Early impressions from testing suggest there's still work to be done, but Ferrari believes they have the resources to make the necessary improvements. Leclerc, on the other hand, is embracing the challenge. He knows that sharing the garage with a driver of Hamilton's caliber will elevate his own performance. The Monegasque driver has already shown flashes of brilliance throughout his Ferrari career, but 2025 could be the year he truly establishes himself as a consistent championship contender. Ferrari's internal battle will be fascinating to watch, but their biggest focus remains on beating the likes of McLaren and Red Bull. With the Australian Grand Prix just around the corner, all eyes will be on how the SF-25 performs when it really matters. Will the team's preseason struggles fade away, or will they find themselves chasing their rivals from the very first race? As the days count down to the Australian Grand Prix, Ferrari's strategy will be closely watched. Their performance in practice sessions will be the first real indicator of whether the SF-25 is ready to challenge at the front. Every lap completed will be crucial for fine-tuning the setup, and any lingering issues from testing will need to be addressed quickly. One of the key factors will be tire management. McLaren demonstrated exceptional long-run pace in preseason testing, with minimal tire degradation, giving them an edge over competitors. If Ferrari wants to keep up, they need to ensure their car can maintain consistent performance across race stints. Engineers have been analyzing data from Bahrain, searching for ways to optimize their tire strategy and close the gap to their rivals. Another concern is the balance of the SF-25. Both Hamilton and Leclerc have pointed out that the car still requires adjustments to unlock its full potential. If the team struggles to find the ideal setup in Melbourne, they could be on the back foot right from the start. However, Ferrari's ability to react quickly has been one of their strengths in recent seasons, and they will be counting on that adaptability to deliver results. Meanwhile, team principal Fred Vasseur remains optimistic. He understands the weight of expectations, but believes in the team's long-term vision. Ferrari has poured significant resources into this campaign, and despite the challenges, their goal remains unchanged: to fight for both the drivers' and constructors' championships. With McLaren looking strong and Red Bull still an unknown factor, the battle at the front could be more intense than ever. The opening race in Melbourne won't determine the entire season, but it will set the tone for what's to come. Ferrari knows that a strong start is vital, and the pressure is on to prove they have what it takes to compete at the highest level. The Australian Grand Prix weekend approaches. All eyes will be on Ferrari to see if they can translate their off-season efforts into a strong opening performance. The SF-25 has shown potential, but whether it can match McLaren and fend off challenges from Red Bull and Mercedes remains uncertain. For Charles Leclerc, this season represents a crucial opportunity to establish himself as the clear leader within the team. His experience with Ferrari gives him an advantage, but with Lewis Hamilton alongside him, internal competition will be fierce. The seven-time world champion brings a wealth of knowledge, and his presence alone raises expectations for Ferrari. How the two drivers work together and how the team manages their dynamic will play a crucial role in their championship bid. The opening rounds of the season will be critical in shaping Ferrari's approach. If they show strong pace in Melbourne and remain in contention at the front, they may commit more resources to fighting for the title. However, if early struggles persist and the gap to McLaren or Red Bull is too large, the team may have to reconsider their priorities and start shifting focus toward 2026. Regardless of how things unfold, Ferrari enters 2025 with high hopes and a renewed sense of ambition. The addition of Lewis Hamilton, the refinement of their car, and the leadership of Fred Vasseur have positioned them as serious contenders. But in Formula One, potential means nothing without results. The Australian Grand Prix will provide the first real test, and only then will we know if Ferrari has truly closed the gap to their rivals. The countdown to Melbourne is nearly over, and soon the battle for supremacy will begin. Will Ferrari rise to the occasion, or will another team steal the spotlight? The answers will unfold on the track as the 2025 Formula One season gets underway.